Let's talk about something that, honestly, so many of us go through. If you've ever had to help a parent or really any loved one navigate a long-term illness, you know the feeling, right? It's this constant humming stress in the background. You've got this mountain of paperwork, a calendar full of appointments, and you're just trying to keep it all straight. Well, today, we're going to look at a totally new way of thinking about this problem.
So just imagine this for a second. You're sitting in one of those hospital waiting rooms, you know the ones. You're clutching this big, messy folder of reports. You had to take time off work to be there. Your mom or dad is sitting next to you, clearly anxious, and your brain is just racing. You're trying to remember every little thing that's happened since the last appointment. It's such a vulnerable feeling, and I think almost all of us have been there.
And then you finally get into the doctor's office, and the first thing they ask is, so, what was the change in the last report? Oh man, that question. You can just hear it echoing in clinics all over the country every single day. And what happens? Your mind just blanks. You start frantically digging through all those papers, searching for that one number, that one specific detail. It's this jolt of panic, and you just think, this shouldn't be this hard. Not today.
This isn't just you being forgetful. It's actually a bigger issue, a real breakdown in how things work. Let's call it the memory gap. Think about it. Doctors only have a few minutes with each patient. They're basically counting on us to fill in all the blanks from the last visit. But let's be real. When you're stressed out, your memory is the last thing you can rely on.
In this picture, this says it all, right? We're supposed to be these perfect, organized record keepers. But the reality is, it's just chaos. It's a messy pile of lab reports, prescriptions from 3 different doctors, maybe some text message reminders thrown in. We're practically drowning in information, but we have zero clarity.
Okay, so right about now, you're probably thinking, hang on, isn't there an app for that? And yeah, you're right, there are literally hundreds of them. So why is this still such a huge problem for so many people? Well, it's because most of the tech solutions out there, they just completely miss the point. The typical approach has always been to just throw more stuff at us. More charts, more graphs, more little data points you're supposed to track every day. But these complicated dashboards, they just become one more thing you have to manage. Instead of helping with the overload, they actually make it worse. So here's the breakdown of why these apps usually don't work in the real world. First, they want you to sit there and type in a bunch of data. Who has time for that when you're juggling a job and taking care of someone? Second, they expect you to be perfectly disciplined, using it every single day. That's just not realistic. And the biggest one? They're almost always designed for just one person, a single tech-savvy user. They totally ignore the fact that for most of us, healthcare is a family affair, with caregivers deeply involved. So this is where we need to completely change how we think about this. The problem was never about not having enough information. We have tons of it. The real problem is that there's no memory, no single place that remembers the patient's entire story. And that idea is the absolute core of KaviCare. It's such a powerful way to reframe everything. It's saying, hey, healthcare isn't about looking at charts. It's about remembering a story. The story of your loved one's health journey told in a way that makes sense, right when you're sitting in front of that doctor. So what exactly is KaviCare then? Well, it's not just another complicated app. They call it an AI health companion. And that word companion is so important. It's meant to be something that helps you, something that feels intuitive. It's designed to work the way we actually talk to each other, with chat and our voice. All right, so that all sounds really good, but how does it actually work, like in the real world? How do you go from that chaotic pile of papers we saw earlier to walking into the doctor's office feeling clear and confident? The whole process is built to be super simple. Step 1, you just upload your documents. Snap a photo with your phone, forward an email, whatever works. Step 2, the AI does all the boring work for you. It reads everything and pulls out the important info. Step 3, and this is the game changer, you just ask it questions in your own language. You can even mix English and Hindi, like platelets ka trend batao. And then step 4, you get a simple, clear summary that's ready for your doctor. And the tech that makes this possible is pretty amazing. It uses something called intelligent OCR, which is basically just smart software that can read and understand any document you throw it at. It doesn't matter what the lab report looks like. Then it combines that with natural language processing, which just means you can talk to it like a person. No special codes, no weird commands, you just ask. And this right here, this is what you get. This is what you walk into the doctor's office with. No more messy folder, just a clean, simple summary of what's changed, what's important, and even what questions you should probably ask. It completely flips that moment of anxiety into one of total confidence. So you can see this is about so much more than just organizing your files, right? The real impact here is on a human level. It's about fundamentally changing the entire experience of a health journey for a family. And you can tell it's really built for how people actually live. It's for patients who need to track their condition over the long haul. It's for kids trying to coordinate care for their aging parents. And because it's so focused on voice, it works for everyone, even in places where people might not be super comfortable with complex apps. It's amazing how, when you solve this one memory problem, everything else just falls into place. Your doctor's visits turn into actual, productive conversations instead of stressful pop quizzes. That anxiety you feel before an appointment, it just melts away. And you finally get real continuity of care because the whole story is always right there. Of course, for something like this to really work, it has to be affordable. The pricing seems really straightforward, and it's clearly designed with Indian families in mind. I love that the family plan specifically calls out caregiver access because they're recognizing that, yes, taking care of someone is a team sport. And I think this next part is what makes the whole thing feel so real and empathetic. KaviCare wasn't just some idea cooked up in a boardroom to chase a market. It was actually created because the founder was going through this exact struggle himself, trying to manage his own family's health records. It came from a place of need, not just opportunity. So that really just leaves us with this one final thought. Imagine, what if your next doctor's visit was different? What if that frantic feeling of searching for an answer, of being put on the spot, was just gone, replaced with a feeling of calm, of being in control? What if every single conversation you have about your health or your family's health could start with complete and total clarity? Well, that's the whole promise behind healthcare that finally remembers.